Right now, you've got a lot of people, including the president, paying at least lip service to the idea that something wrong happened that needs to be turned around, there needs to be new regulation. Here's a clip from his speech around the anniversary of the fall. Take a look.
We will not go back to the days of reckless behavior and unchecked excess that was at the heart of this crisis, where too many were motivated only by the appetite for quick kills and bloated bonuses. Those on Wall Street cannot resume taking risks without regard for consequences and expect that next time American taxpayers will be there to break their fall. And that's why we need strong rules of the road to guard against the kind of systemic risks that we've seen. And we have a responsibility to write and enforce these rules to protect consumers of financial products, to protect taxpayers, and to protect our economy as a whole.
So should we feel better protected? Are we not going to go back?
Well, yeah, those words sound so good. And if they were actually going to be acted upon, it would be great. And we could bring in not just some regulations, cosmetic changes, but real reform into the banking landscape to protect the general economy, and including the general public as well as the government from having to overspend to protect a system that's inherently flawed. But he's talking about not going back to. But today, right now, while he was speaking, there were bonus conversations going on all over Wall Street, because it's like, okay, we're back this year, our profits are back. How much am I going to get? Because how much am I going to get is really a part of what drives a lot of what goes on. And it's not even just the monetary value of a bonus. It's the idea that a bonus marks someone as being good, as being ascending in the political hierarchy of an institution. Perhaps one day taking it over. It's all a lot of gamesmanship, even beyond the phenomenal sums that people look at and think are so incredibly abstract and bizarre. And the thing is, inside those offices, and CEOs didn't show up to Obama's speech at Federal Hall. It was like the number 2 guys and the number 3 guys. CEOs did not even bother to show. And that kind of indicates that they don't think things are going to change too much for them.
Well, is that because, and here's another question, was it only our economy that was pillaged, or also our political system?
That's a really good question. I think our political system was certainly collusive in the pillaging of the economy. So was our regulatory system, certainly the Fed.
But I think I'm getting at the question, did the power become so great in the hands of the bankers that they could buy the politics they wanted? We're seeing the money now go into trying to defeat every regulatory measure that even the good guys are trying to put forward.
Absolutely, and some of that money is coming from us because we basically subsidize a lot of their positions. So we're actually paying to have regulations stopped that could help us.
They don't even think they have to show up for the president's speech. They think they're more powerful than he is, are they?
And that's been proven to be the case. Unfortunately, they have a lot of lobbying money. They make a lot of profits. Look, a company like Goldman Sachs gives around 50% of its net profits to bonuses, to paying people. That doesn't happen in manufacturing. It doesn't happen in retail. It doesn't happen in any other industry. So there is so much money actually sloshing around, a lot of which is made on bets and trading, and that could mean they're good at betting. It could mean they're good at trading, but it's also done right now on a lot of public capital. And so they are powerful. They have been vindicated. They had a tremendously bad year. Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley were on death's door when they walked into the Fed's office late one Sunday night, September 21st, and said, make us banks and give us money so we can survive, give us a shot, and achieve that, and we're allowed to become part of the general commercial banking system. And they were ready to die, and they were at the end of their capital limits. They had no money to pay their debts. When a human person has no money to pay their debts, they do not get anywhere near the same sort of public assistance or government help. And so they realize that, hey, this works. So now let's ask for more. It's not like this works, thank you very much, we'll go about being good public citizens. They're not nonprofits. They go about doing what they can do and ask for more.
Well, let's find out what they did with the money. It was an open question a few months back, but Neil Barofsky, who's supposedly the regulator of TARP, had this to say to the Huffington Post Investigative Fund about what the banks had actually done with our money. Take a look.
TARP funds are being used by these banks, as they themselves report, acquire other financial institutions. They sit on it as a capital cushion in case they have future losses. They buy securities with them. They pay off lines of credit.
They're not even ashamed of it, but that isn't what we gave them the money for, is it?
No, absolutely. The myth of why we gave them the money and this whole sky is falling, world will fall apart thing that unfolded in Congress last year and was predicated by Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson and Ben Bernanke was that if we do not stimulate or give money to the banking system, the world will fall apart. So we need to do this. We need this act to go through Congress. We need everyone to be on board or everything's going to happen. This happened to have coincided with an election year, and there was a lot of scared politicians out there who thought that if they didn't do the right thing and then the world did collapse, they would be blamed for it. And so there was so much maneuvering going on, and as a result, a lot of money was given. And Borowski's absolutely right, and he sees what goes on. And they're not particularly private about some of it. J.P. Morgan Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, for example, last year said, A, we don't really need the money, though he took the money and he took it to merge with Washington Mutual, and before that with Bear Stearns, said we will be looking for opportunities to acquire other banks. Right. No one made this a secret.
Finally, when you have in the Middle Ages a pillage and you have a village or villagers kind of wiped out by the neighboring village or the people in charge, they tend to form little self-protection units, find their Robin Hood band of brothers and sisters too. What's the equivalent? Who can we turn to with the pitchforks?
Yeah, I mean, with the pitchforks, you can turn to the people who are pillaging, but and also I think there are some movements. I think people are enough angry right now, and it's hard to determine exactly what, but they know a whole lot of money was given here, and a whole lot of pain is felt here at the individual level. There are groups like Americans for Financial Reform, which has just been created, which kind of brings together other groups that are concerned about regulation and protecting consumers and everything else.
But you know what they're up against. Do they stand a chance?
It is really hard, and I've said to many people who are involved in them that there has to be a whole lot more fight in them, because when CEOs, they don't show up to all of the meetings, but when lobbyists, when they come in and sit down with Congress people, they're not being nice. They might be respectful, but they're not being nice. They are fighting. And I think that there has to be a lot more fight on the other side. I don't know how much good it will do, but I know that not fighting does absolutely nothing. So there is something that we need to do. And we need to seriously bother everyone who's involved in those groups or not even, is continue to bother congressmen, because they are under, and women, they're under the illusion that people will be okay with minor reform, or don't really understand why it matters one way or the other or something, and that's how they capitulate against the banking sector, who understands the game a lot better than consumer groups. And I think that people just need to bother the heck out of these Congress people and say, look, you will be voted out. We don't like what you're doing. It is not fair.
Are the people that used to be your colleagues at Bear Stearns and Goldman Sachs bothered by your work and your book?
Some of them don't talk to me, but some of them actually who've lost their jobs are actually very supportive. People on Wall Street get it. People in the sort of middle tier of management understand what happened and why it happened and the risks that these companies took. It's just, a lot of them are tied up in their own careers and money and families and homes and everything else. And the ones at the top honestly think that they're sort of entitled and above all this. And even if they're bothered by me or the book, or I'd be happy to send them copies, it's not clear that they think that any of this will necessarily impact them.
Nomi Prins, thanks so much. The book is It Takes a Pillage, Behind the Bailouts, Bonuses, and Backroom Deals from Washington to Wall Street. It's just out from Wiley. Thanks so much for coming into GRITtv, and I hope you continue your appearances here. It's always great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Nomi Prins. More on GRITtv just ahead.